So it turns out that the finals is a hell of a lot of fun. It's obviously had its beta over the last week and a half or so, and I put in a fair amount of playtime. And although I've really enjoyed my playtime with the game, there are definitely plenty of things that I think do need changing if they want this game to be a success. So today we're going over the things that I think the finals needs to change before the game actually launches. If you want to see more content on the finals, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. Now, the first thing on the list for me is one of the more basic issues, and I'm actually kind of curious as to why this isn't in the game already. And this is essentially to do with some of the controller settings and just the tuning in general. Now, I actually downloaded the game on the Xbox first. I played 3 or 4 games and I wasn't really feeling it. It felt a little bit off on controller for me, but I could tell that the game in general looked and felt like it was going to be fun. I just wasn't having fun in those games. So what I did was actually went and downloaded it on Steam instead and played it on the PC. And pretty much from that point onwards, I became borderline addicted to the game, and that says a hell of a lot about the controller settings and just the feeling of controller gameplay in general, when a seasoned controller player like myself is going to go and play it on PC because it feels better. The first thing that was a bit of an issue for me is the fact that there are no settings to do with the sticks in the game in terms of changing a right stick, for example, from the melee button to crouch instead. That is something that I do in pretty much any shooter that I ever play. It is usually referred to as like the tactical stick setting, or there's plenty of different names out there, but essentially it is just switching the melee button and the crouch button, and this allows you to pretty much keep all of your movement in the sticks itself. It may seem like a very minor change, but any of you guys who do it, you'll probably agree with me that it is like a fundamental thing that needs to be in every shooter that ever happens. In my opinion, it should be the default setting anyway. I think it is so much better than the way that they usually are, but even if it's not the default, it definitely needs to be a setting. So that is something that they need to change when the game launches. And on top of that, just the general way that I guess the controller gameplay feels. I don't know how to really put a finger on what exactly that is. It just feels a lot clunkier, and I guess even some of it may be to do with like the aim assist or the lack of aim assist. Now, I'm not big on like huge aim assist. I think Call of Duty does it too much and it makes you kind of reliant on it, but it feels like in this game it's kind of gone the other way where it almost feels like there's no aim assist. So it's kind of hard to put a finger on what I mean there, but I feel like it definitely just doesn't play as well on controller as it does on the PC. And like I said, I'm a seasoned controller player. I pretty much play all of my shooters on controller, and I feel like that says a lot when I'm actively choosing to play it on a keyboard and mouse instead of playing it on controller. That's not a good sign when it comes to, I guess, just how the game feels when you're playing on controller. Now, the next thing on my list here is to do with the movement, and to be honest, some of this I guess bleeds into the point that I just made. It feels a little bit clunky at times with just the controller settings, but I did feel this in the actual PC sessions I had as well. Some of the movement in this game is just not all that fluid, and although it's not bad and I think the overall movement is fine, there are definitely just some elements to it, or even some certain animations that definitely need a bit of tuning. One that really stands out to me is actually to do with the rappel. Essentially, when you're trying to, I guess, zip line up to a rooftop, for example, that is so damn slow that you honestly may as well not do it, because you are just a sitting duck when you're going up those zip lines or the rappels. The actual like horizontal zip lines are fine. I feel like they're fairly quick and I don't feel like I'm in danger when I'm on those, but if I'm going up a vertical rappel, those things are just a death trap. So considering the game is meant to be a very fast-paced and chaotic type of game, I really do wish that they would increase the speed of those. I don't know if they've done that on purpose or something, but it is just like so slow. I played a hell of a lot of Warzone when Warzone 1 was out, and that was one of the biggest issues people had with the rappels in that game. They were just so slow. Then when it came to Battlefield 2042 and then also Warzone 2, both of those games, it's almost like they looked at Warzone 1 and realized all the complaints with it, and they just went and fixed it and made it faster. In my opinion, there is no reason to have slow movement when it comes to anything like that. I think slow movement when it comes to general, running around and stuff, I think that's fine in certain cases. I think it adds a bit of realism. You can't have people running around at 100 k's an hour, so I do understand that. But when it comes to like going up a rappel or a zip line or even climbing a ladder, for example, in my opinion, there's no reason to slow those down. Those are just trying to help you, I guess, traverse the map. And if you want to get some verticality in your maps, you want to make it enjoyable, but using those rappels is not an enjoyable experience. So they definitely need to change that. I think they also need to kind of tune up up the sliding. I think it's not terrible, but it has kind of slow animations getting in and out of the slide, where I guess it almost makes it feel like it's not worth it sometimes. If you're going to have sliding in a game, as in knee sliding, you need to have it be smooth to where it's actually worth doing. And once you enter into the slide, you're not like stuck in an animation, for example, because if that does happen, then people aren't going to use it and it may as well just not be in the game. So those are just some, I guess, key elements when it comes to the movement that I think they do need to change. They're not necessarily bad how they are, it's just that they need a bit of tuning in terms of the speed and, like I said, with the sliding, just making those animations a bit faster to get in and out of. Realistically, they just need to speed up a lot of these areas of the movement. The actual sprint speed and stuff, that's all perfectly fine, but there are just definitely some elements, even like I said in previous video, the strafing is a little bit slow as well, so it's hard to explain. It's not the overall movement, but just certain elements of the movement definitely need to be sped up a hell of a lot. Now, something else that I think really does need to change, and it's kind of odd that they've done it this way, but the game essentially has no weapon customization at all. Now, I don't mean skins and stuff like that. It actually has really good customization when it comes to the aesthetics of the game, but the only customization that there is to do with pretty much choosing the weapon that you're using. And once you've chosen it, there is no like adding different sights to it, changing the magazine sizes and all that kind of thing. Every weapon is essentially identical to its counterpart. So if you're using the same gun as me, it's going to be identical. There's no different sights or anything like that. And I think that is a big issue. Now, I do understand that maybe they've gone with it that way to make balancing a little bit easier. And I do want to say the game feels fairly balanced. I haven't run into any weapons that feel overpowered, but I also think you can add customization or add attachments, for example, without risking it being overpowered, because you can kind of stray away from like damage based stuff. For example, you know, having iron sights compared to a red dot sight, that doesn't really make a gun overpowered. It doesn't change any of the actual stats. It more just makes it more comfortable for someone to use, which, yeah, maybe that will make them a little bit better with that weapon, but those things don't necessarily change stats. It's almost the same with the ammo, for example. Having an extended mag definitely makes the gun better, but it doesn't necessarily make it stronger in an actual gunfight. It's more just if you're fighting multiple enemies, for example, and then obviously you can add some downsides to that, so make the aim down sights a little bit slower. I think you can add weapon attachments without it being too much of an issue when it comes to balancing it, as long as you're not adding like different ammo types that do, you know, more or less damage, stuff like that. That can obviously lead to a fair amount of, I guess, imbalances within the game. So it is a little bit confusing why they've gone that way, and it's just like if you pick one weapon, it just has a certain sight on it and you can't change that. I'm not a fan of that at all. I think all the guns in the game do feel good, but it's just like I wish I could use certain weapons with certain other attachments that you can use on other guns. For example, like using a sight on the AK-47, or I don't know if they're actually called the AK-47 in this game, but it's clearly an AK. I would like to be able to use a sight on that gun, but unfortunately I just can't. So that is something I really hope changes. Whether it does or not, I'm not too sure, because it feels like they've done that intentionally. And like I said, I guess that there is positives to that, but I think it is overall a positive if you have more choices when it comes to attachments, and it makes every weapon a bit more enjoyable to use, because there might be a gun I really like, but it's got like a terrible sight on it, and because of that I'm probably never going to use that weapon. So hopefully they change that, but that is one that I think they'll probably keep it how it is, because it seems like that is pretty much intentional. Now, the last one on the list for me is a bit of a minor one, but I really want them to add secondary weapons. How it is currently, you just have a primary weapon and then you have like 3 essentially gadgets. So you can have like a grenade, or there's a bunch of different gadgets to use, but you only have one actual weapon, and the rest are, you know, smaller stuff like grenades or your actual gadgets. They need to add some sort of secondary system in there where you can pull out a pistol. I really don't understand why games don't do that. It's so frustrating in this game when you run out of ammo mid gunfight and you're clearly better than that player. You might be like half health when you start the gunfight, and you get them down to 1 health, and you've clearly kind of won that gunfight, but then you run out of ammo. In that situation, I should be able to pull out my pistol and finish them off, but I cannot tell you the amount of times that I died simply because I ran out of ammo. In a regular, you know, something like Call of Duty, for example, I think it's fine, even though obviously that does have secondary weapons, but I think it's fine because the time to kill is so quick that if you're running out of ammo mid gunfight, it's probably because you missed a hell of a lot of shots. In this game, if I'm shooting at a tank, for example, or a heavy as they're called in this game, I could literally hit every single shot with certain weapons and it won't kill them. And in that instance, I should be able to pull out a pistol or some sort of secondary and, you know, finish them off in that situation, because there's a lot of gunfights that you actually lose even though you clearly are the winner. You're clearly better than that player, and it just comes down to running out of ammo. I kind kind of get what they're going for, because it makes it almost, I've had a lot of moments actually where both of us have run out of ammo and it's this weird like stalemate, and it's, you know, who's going to reload faster. It does make for some fun moments in that sense, but when the enemy doesn't run out of ammo at the same time as me and I die because of it, it is so damn frustrating. And they've already got pistols in the game. Like, I don't know why they don't put that as an actual secondary. So it might be a nitpick. I think that's another thing they've done on purpose, and maybe they'll just never change that. But for me, any good shooter out there, you've always got a secondary that you can kind of pull out if if you're in a pinch. So hopefully they add those, but like I said, I'm not too confident that they will. It seems like they've made a lot of these things intentional. Why that is the case, I'm not really too sure, to be honest, but if that's the way they're going to go, then it seems like they probably will stick with a lot of these decisions. But anyway, those are some things that I do think need changing in the finals. With those being a bit more on the negative side, I do want to say I've had a heap of fun playing the game, and even with these, I guess, issues, I still think I'm going to be playing the hell out of this game when it actually launches. So these are more things that would take it to that next level, whereas currently it's not, completely mind-blowing. It's a really solid shooter. I'd probably rate it like an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10 for my playtime so far, and I think if they changed all of these, it would take it to a 9 to potentially even higher than that. So like I said, not the biggest issue that these are in need of some changes, but hopefully if they do change them, it will only result in a better game for everyone. But that is going to do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe with those notifications on. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.